News Broadcast Center, this is 22 News in Focus.
Good Sunday afternoon and welcome to 22 News in Focus. I'm Laura Hutchinson. It is the first weekend in July, which not only marks the halfway point of the year, it also is when a lot of people are getting ready to take some vacation time from work. Well, those vacations don't have to cost you a fortune if you're smart with your money, and that's where 22 News in Focus comes in today. Today we'll talk about how you can travel or even stay local and have fun without draining your bank account. We'll talk to travel experts about where to go and when to book in order to get a good deal. We'll talk to a consumer expert about travel schemes that can cost you unnecessary stress and money if you're not careful. We'll also hear from a financial expert about budgeting for that getaway and getting back on track financially for the second half of the year. Well, we have a lot to get to, so let's begin today with Denise Doyle Nowak, owner of Doyle Travel Center in Chicopee. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
So nice to have you.
Thank you.
So tell me, it's July, and is it too late for people to still book a summer trip without paying high prices?
No, it's not. Airline prices, airfares are a little bit high right now, but if you plan far enough in advance, at least a month in advance, you should be able to still get some good airfares.
Okay. Yeah. When are the best months to travel in general? For people who want to plan out the next year, maybe they want to plan in the summer, when is the best time to travel?
The best month as far as savings is January. After the holidays, nobody's going anywhere because sometimes they don't have enough money or the kids are back in school. They just want to get away alone together. It's the perfect time, absolutely perfect time to go. Fares are really low at that time, no matter if you're going on an all-inclusive, going on a cruise. September, October, 2 other good months. The only thing you have to worry about there is where you're going to and is there going to be a storm or hurricane.
Right.
You've got to watch out for those things. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so talk to me about what is inexpensive right now. Is it flying somewhere? Is it taking a cruise somewhere? Is it a road trip? What are you seeing? What's popular? What's the most important?
Right now, I'm seeing that cruises are the least expensive. They've got a big ad campaign going on, buy one, get the second one half off.
Now, is this because of recent news events?
Because of recent news events, yes. So they're doing that, and it's really, the problem is if you're going on a cruise, and say you're going from Miami, you're going to the Eastern Caribbean, well, now you've got to get to Miami, and that's where your cost comes in. The cruise is very inexpensive, but getting to the destination to take the cruise sometimes gets a little expensive. And people are saying to me, well, why are the airfares so high if the fuel is so
gas
inexpensive?
Prices are pretty manageable right now.
It's because when they are up, when the fuel prices are up, the airlines lose money. But when they're down, they're gaining the money, and you'll never see the air prices go down when the fuel prices go down. They've got to get their money somehow. They've got to, and now, as you see, the baggage charges,
yes,
the seat charges,
right,
everything.
And more airlines are now charging the bag.
As a matter of fact, JetBlue just yesterday announced that they're going to. So Southwest is the only one right now that does not charge for baggage.
Wow. So that's a good point to talk about. So what are some of these unexpected expenses that people end up not planning for maybe? Maybe the baggage fee you do, but there are some of those unexpected expenses that happen on trips. What are
for the seats on the aircraft? Right now, if you have an aircraft that has 150 seats in it, the first probably 10 rows you have to pay extra for the seats. And it depends upon the length of the air flight. So if you're going from here to Chicago, if you want to buy that seat that is up front in the aircraft, it's probably going to cost you $59. The free seats are in the rear of the aircraft. And out of those 150 seats, they maybe only allow maybe 30 to be booked in advance.
Really?
So seats are very, very expensive now.
So do you have to ask for the more inexpensive seats, or if you do like best price, will it give you those? How does that work?
No, you just have to go in and see, okay, if I want this aisle seat in row 3, and if it's available, how much is that seat? $59.
Okay.
Then you make the decision whether you want to do that or not.
Okay, so you can be on the same flight and still save some money in a different seat.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, people have said that there's certain days that are better to book trips. Is that a myth, or is it really more expensive?
That's a myth. Yeah, that's a myth. A lot of people will say if you book your reservation on a Wednesday, if you go in on Wednesday and look at the air flights, they're going to be less expensive. Not necessarily so. You could look on Thursday and they could be available. It's just a matter of your advance notice. Your advance notice is a big deal when you're traveling on air flights.
Now, when you say that, do you mean the earlier that you can book your flight?
Yes.
Or because some people think that if you wait, they're going to need to sell these seats. Is that also
not necessarily?
Okay.
No, not necessarily. If you have, you know, the 21-day, 30-day, 14-day advance notice, your air flight is going to be less expensive than if you wait till 7 days prior to. Now, some airlines, yes, they have not filled their inventory, so they'll bring the price down a little bit, but that I don't see that happening ever anymore.
Okay.
It used to happen a lot, but it doesn't anymore.
It doesn't happen
No,
anymore. So
no.
if you're waiting, you might just lose that flight.
Because there's less seats on the aircraft. You know, they're smaller aircraft than what used to be. You know, there used to be the big jets that went out of Bradley. Now, you know, they're all smaller aircraft. So they're adding more seats because they don't have enough seats now.
Right.
So that's what's happening.
Now, are you finding that people are wanting to look into renting a house more than going to a hotel? There's this Airbnb where people are like renting out their homes and apartments and stuff. Is this a better idea financially? What are you finding? Is that something?
Well, mostly I work with villas in the Caribbean and all of that. We do not do anything like you're talking about because the liability is just so great.
Right. It's possible.
I mean, really, would you do that with your house? Let somebody else come into it and rent it?
I mean, I know people who have done that.
Yes.
It's certainly becoming more popular.
It is. It's becoming more popular. And I have friends that have done it. And they said it was just like going to, say, the Cape or Hampton Beach and going to somebody's house. I don't know how popular that's going to become, but some people are doing it.
Maybe that'll be something we talk in our segment with our consumer expert
That's
about.
probably the best. Yes, that's probably the best.
I'll make a note of that to bring that up and see if there's something we should be looking out for there. Now, let's talk about incentives and everything to get people to fly. Are you seeing more companies offering incentives? Are people traveling more? What are the trends right now?
People are traveling more right now because it's summer, and they're trying, you know, family reunions, all of that. They're doing all of that. So yeah, there's a lot of that going on right now. In the wintertime, your February school vacation, April school vacation, I mean, those are always, you know,
The big ones.
The big ones. Those are the ones that if you're a couple going on vacation, those are the weeks that you want to stay away from.
Stay away from.
Yeah, stay away from those.
Very good.
Yeah.
And what about travel insurance? I know people who will get this every time, and then people who will not even consider it. Who should be considering travel insurance?
Everybody should. Okay. Everybody should, because you never know what's going to happen. You could be at a destination and something happens at home and you have to get home. If you have the travel insurance, that is going to take care of your expenses to get back home. Because the airline, if you don't have the insurance and you go to the airline and say, I have to change my reservation, I have to get home, there's been an emergency, the airline is going to charge you $200 right off the bat, because that is their fee just to change the reservation, plus any difference in fare in what you paid originally. So you could, if you had an airfare of, say, $300 and now you have to change it, you've got to pay another $200 to change it, plus the difference in fare, which could be another anywhere from $100 on up.
And as far as...
and so the insurance would cover you for that.
Okay.
All right. And there's also insurance that you can buy where it would cover you for pre-existing conditions. So let's say you're going somewhere and you have a family member that has been being treated for cancer.
Okay.
Okay. And just before your vacation, something happens, they end up back in the hospital. You will be covered because it's a pre-existing condition, and it covers you and your immediate family members.
Gotcha.
Not just the traveler,
Okay.
but your immediate family
So there's
members.
not really a one-size-fits-all. You can kind of talk to somebody about
there's all different types of
options.
policies. You can get a policy just to cover your airfare. You can get a policy just to cover your hotel reservation.
And that brings me to my next question. Of course, you are a travel agent, and you think that people should go through travel agents. But
Absolutely.
what are so what are those little things that agents can find that you might not be able to find doing your own search on the internet? now?
As far as airfares are concerned, we go right into the airlines, so we know exactly the lowest fares. And if you ask me for an airfare between Bradley and Chicago, I can tell you what the fare is on a nonstop flight and what the lowest fare would be on that day to that destination, whether it be a connecting flight or a nonstop flight.
Okay.
Because we have all the airlines, every single airline that flies, we have in our system.
Okay.
So that is really easy. If you book it online, which I hope a whole lot of people don't do, but I know they're out there, what happens is if you have a problem, you don't have anybody to help you because they are not in your area. Okay, we're a local agency. We've been around for 45 years now. So we know what the public wants, we know what the traveler wants, we know what the business person wants.
And you have someone to fall back on if something
and you have
doesn't
somebody
go.
to fall back on.
Exactly.
And when you're calling these other companies, they are just other travel agencies.
Right.
Okay, so when you're calling them, you may be calling somebody in, let's say
Somewhere
California.
far away.
California. You may be calling somebody in California. Why not work with your local agency?
Right.
We have the same fees as anybody else does.
Make some good points, and it's certainly something to consider when you are going to be
Absolutely.
traveling.
Absolutely.
Denise Doyle-Nowak, thank you so much for coming, Doyle Travel Center. Appreciate it so much. You've offered some great advice.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
having me.
Appreciate it. And next, a financial advisor will talk to us about balancing fun and still saving money. Then later, scams to look out for and inexpensive ideas if you'll be staying local this summer. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about traveling this summer and doing it without breaking the bank. Joining us now to talk about being smart with your spending, we have Dylan Bond with Bond Financial Group in Long Meadow. Thank you so much for being here.
It's fun to be here. Thank you.
It's kind of fun to talk about travel too, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's talk about this. Is it possible to go on the trip that you want to take without totally depleting your savings account? I want to find out how we can sort of manage this. There's a lot of big events that happen in the year, Christmas, other things. How can you sort of organize your life so that you can take these trips?
Well, I think first it depends on how old you are and how much you've saved up till that point.
Okay.
But I think for most people, and I've been doing this for 20 years, I work a lot with people that are at or near retirement. And I learn from people every single week. I've met with thousands of people in the area. And one thing that I've learned from older people when I ask them what they would have done differently is tell me they would have spent more money. So the good news, hindsight being 20/20, using the eyes of somebody that's now 75, 80 years old, is if they looked back, they would have spent more money doing travel and things like that.
It's great advice.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I've found is that the reason people hold on to their money so tightly and that they're afraid to spend it as they go through life is because they really never took the time to put a plan together. That they understood how it was going to work. They understood what they were going to need on a month-to-month basis. They had a budget, not that they technically had to adhere to, but they understood really what they spent on the average month. And they did the right things with their money, so they weren't paying unnecessary fees and expenses and things like that. And really, from the average person that I meet with for the first time I meet with them, I find a lot of them own retail financial service products like mutual funds and variable annuities that tend to carry a lot higher fee loads and expense loads, and really by fixing the bucket first and getting rid of those unnecessary leaks, that frees up a lot more money that they can use for other things rather than them going to the financial companies that are holding the accounts for them. So that's one major place I would start if I was looking for money.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned retirement, and I think that that's important because a lot of people say, when I retire, I want to travel. You know?
Yeah.
So for people who are planning their retirement, how do you know if you've saved, what should you be saving so that when you retire, you have enough to live, because it's kind of hard to comprehend what you'll need for the rest of your life, but also have that extra cash to spend on travel?
Well, I think that a rule of thumb is 10% of what you earn should go pay yourself first, is the old adage. And I meet a lot of people that are in their late 40s, early 50s. They still got 10 to 15 years to work, and they're trying to play catch up. So one, the earlier you start saving 10%, the better off you'll be down the road. And also, if you're at a point where you're contributing 15 or 17% to max out your 401ks, it doesn't hurt to be good to yourself. I think Kiss, the rock and roll band, said that once in one of their songs. But if you were to take your 17% contribution to your 401k, and let's say for 2 months out of the year in the summertime, you dropped it to 10% and had that additional money go into your pay, you could use that money to do things too as well, as long as at the end of those couple of months of summer and having fun, you just upped your contributions back to where you're comfortable.
Okay, I'm really glad that we just worked Kiss into this conversation, by the way. That's great.
It's Sunday morning.
What else? Yeah. Okay, so is it ever a good idea to pull a big chunk out of your savings, out of your even your retirement when you're looking to take a trip to Europe, something big once in a lifetime? Is it ever a good idea to pull out of some of these big funds that you're hoping to save for later?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things you got to be careful of is what type of funds are they, because a lot of people these days save all their money in their 401k, which A, you really have to be 59 and a half before you can take it out without paying a 10% penalty to the IRS, and B, you got to pay income taxes on it when you take it out. So if it's sitting in a regular savings account or after-tax account, it's probably earning next to nothing in interest if it's anything like my savings account. And I don't like to keep a lot of money there anyways, so I would rather probably spend the money traveling the world than have it sit in the bank losing money to inflation year after year. You have to understand who you are, how much you have, and you don't want to spend everything to take that trip. But again, I'm a big believer in spending money. I try to get my clients to do that when I work with them in and out. I think it's really important that you enjoy life and that you don't go through life fearful of spending your money so that you end up dying at 85, 90 years old with a big pile of money that your kids are going to take away and maybe buy a boat, a Corvette, and a motorcycle with, and they're going to enjoy it. So I'm a big believer in enjoying some of it before they get it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, let's go back to the basics, because you know, when you're laying out your budget, figuring out what you're able to do with your money, how do you set your own budget when you're going through to see if you're overspending, if you're underspending, as you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you sort of work this budget so that you're responsible with the saving, but also, as you said, having some fun so that you're not dying young from having a boring life?
Exactly. Well, I think the most important thing that anybody can do at any age, whether it's getting ready to retire or getting, you might be 30 years old or 40 years old, is understanding your budget. Nobody goes through the time to do that. And I find people coming in, they've been working for 30 years, they've never paid any attention to the automatic deductions coming out of their accounts and everything else on a month-to-month basis. And when we start working through that budget and trying to identify what we're really spending, they come in after that first homework assignment that I give them, they come back in and they're amazed at how many things they were paying for that they aren't even using right now. So right there, you might be able to clip $2 or $3, in some cases $500 in fees and expenses that you're not even using off of your monthly budget, which you can then keep in your savings account or your investment accounts and use to go on vacation and things like that.
Okay, and you know, some people are looking at the calendar and saying, wow, it's July, halfway through the year already. For those people who on January 1st made this resolution to get their finances together, time to sort of reevaluate here and see if we're doing that. So when you have this time of year to sort of see if you're on track to carry out your financial resolutions, you know, what are some of those major points? What are some mistakes that you see people making throughout the year? Is it putting too much on a credit card? Is it not establishing enough credit? You know, what are some things that people could be doing to just better themselves financially, no matter who you are?
Definitely credit is a very dangerous rope to walk on.
It is scary.
You know, unfortunately, I've met with people that are real good people, have a good amount of money saved, good incomes, but they're spenders. And what they do is, you know, they'll get into a situation where we'll work with them, we'll try to figure out how to clean up their finances, and a year later when we're doing a review with them, because we try to do face-to-face reviews at least once a year, they'll come back in and they'll have credit card debt again. And so now I'm at a point where if somebody I feel is in a situation like that, I'll flat out tell them, if you're going to pay your credit cards off, shred them if you have to. If you don't think you can control yourself from buying whatever you see at Home Depot that might be on sale or something like that, it's not worth going into debt and paying 14 to 17% a year in interest. That's all it's coming out of your pocket at the end of the day. You got to pay the money back. So you got to be very, very aware of what you're spending your money on, and credit's tough.
So what's a healthy amount when you look at what you have for available credit? What is a healthy level to be at that is sort of manageable to pay off, rather than, because we did just send the message that we want to spend, but we didn't mean credit card spending.
You know, instead of going on credit, you know, a healthy amount to me is whatever you can pay off at the end of the month.
Perfect.
You know, at the end of the day, if you're putting something on your credit card that you're planning on paying off over the course of a year or two, that's probably a red flag. I think you'd be better off keeping away from credit and taking the time to go through what you currently own for finances and investment accounts, and have someone, whether it's us or somebody else out there that is working as a fiduciary in your best interest, have them break open and peel back the onion of the types of accounts that you own, see how much expenses and fees you're really paying, because there's different ways that they report fees, and only a few of the fees are actually shown in the information for those types of accounts. So, you know, to give you a story, we met with a couple that the gentleman had retired. He had a $500,000 401k. He rolled it over to a variable annuity with an income rider, and when we broke down the fee structure of that product that he owned, he was paying about 4.25% per year in fees.
Wow.
So that's almost $25,000 a year.
Wow.
In fees just on that account. That's whether the market makes money or loses money. So the key there is know what you're in, understand what you're paying for fees and expenses, and try to keep that to a bare minimum.
That's almost painful sometimes, to look at your own situation and be honest with yourself and see where you're spending your money and what you need to do. That's some great advice. Dylan Bond from Bond Financial Group in Long Meadow, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. I really appreciate it. Some great advice.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. It was fun. Next, even on vacation, you need to be aware of people looking to take advantage of you. So we'll be talking about scams that could cost you. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about saving money during the summer travel months. We were just talking about when to book your trip and how you can save money. In a little bit, we will talk about some local trips that you can take if you are planning to stay local and do so on a budget. But first, let's talk about common scams that can happen this time of year if you're not careful. Joining us now, we have Milagros Johnson from the Springfield Mayor Office of Consumer Information. That is always a mouthful.
It's a mouthful.
Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate
You're welcome.
it.
You forgot working in cooperation with the Attorney General's office, though.
Oh gosh, well thank you. I appreciate you finishing that off, because I was done with that sentence. So let's talk about, first off, what's happening locally in our area, because I know when the warmer months hit, you have different kinds of things to look out for. Talk to me about what's happening locally first.
Well, we continue to hear a lot of complaints about the IRS, the phone calls putting pressure on consumers, and especially the elderly. They're the ones that are most vulnerable, and that's a big concern to us and to anyone who does consumer advocacy work into law enforcement, because they fall victim of those scams very easily by giving into the pressure and giving into the fraudsters that call them claiming that they owe tax money and they're going to be arrested. So consumers need to remember that the IRS does not call, they don't send emails, they don't send anyone to knock on your door. That's not the way the IRS functions.
Right.
The other type of scam that we hear quite often these days is the utility companies, where they are some that are scam artists. They pretend to be from a utility company. Bear in mind that there are some that are legitimate, but there are some that pretend to be, and they have fake IDs, and they knock on your door and they ask to come in and ask to see one of your old utility bills. And that's where it's frightening, because now you're letting a stranger into your home, number one. Number two is, if it's a scam, you're giving them your personal information. You're giving them your social security number, your credit card number, maybe your date of birth. So consumer beware. Be careful who you let into your home. And even unless you have an appointment scheduled, just don't answer the door or let them in. If you want to switch utility providers, then I suggest you call the companies and inquire. Make the inquiries by phone before scheduling an appointment.
Right. It's warm. People are out walking around, and that's how
they are.
in your
And you know,
neighborhood.
you could be one could be in the back door while you're answering the front door. So if you're going to be doing yard work, always remember to lock your front door. If you're going to be in the back of in the front, the same thing. Lock your back door. So don't leave your windows open, your doors unlocked. It's summertime, and they're out there. They're out to steal our belongings, our money, our identity, which is another subject. But
we could go on a whole show.
We can go
with
on
that.
the whole show, definitely.
Yes. So for when you are planning to leave your home for a while, leaving a house unattended, I guess, what are some things that people should be aware of at that time?
Not everyone can afford to have a security system in their home, but we do have neighbors. So if you have a neighbor that you trust, that you can feel comfortable letting them know that you're going to be away, ask them to keep an eye on your home. You may want to leave a light on, or you may want to invest in one of those the programming where the lights shut off in one room and turn on another room. Maybe the TV can come on, the radio can come on, just for diversity. You definitely want to do that. Leave an outside light on. If you have drapes, draw them closed. Those are things that you want to do. Just beware. Stop your newspaper delivery. Stop your mail.
Stop posting on social media that you're away.
Oh, that alone is quite frustrating to me, because people want, and I don't understand that it means a lot to them to share with their loved ones and their friends how much fun they're having and where they're at and what they're observing and what they're witnessing and what they're eating, where they're at. But those are things that anyone that is looking to steal your identity or break into your home while you're away is going to take advantage of. So I suggest that you hold off on those pictures. Hold off on posting until you get back, and then you brag about it. Then you go on your social media account and post them all and let them know where you were at and what you did and where you ate and so forth and so on. But do not do it while you're away. I mean, that's just like leaving your front door open.
Basically, just letting people know.
Yes.
And how about when you are at a hotel? This sort of opens the door to a number of different scenarios. So I think it's important to talk about first the Wi-Fi. Even there's sometimes a lot of options, and some of them may look like the Wi-Fi of your hotel. How can you sort of make sure that you are logging on to something that's safe?
I know where the topic here is vacation, but I want to say that it's not just when you're on vacation that we should be very, very careful when we use public Wi-Fis. They're not always secure, they're not encrypted, and it could be a fake one where you think you're logging on to the one in the hotel or the restaurant where you're eating your meal, or the public location where you're at may offer it. But there are some that are not authentic, they're not real. And what they do is everything that you do when you log on to an account while you're using the public Wi-Fi, for example, if you go into your banking account and you want to check how much money is in your account because you want to do that extra trip while you're on vacation, or you want to buy something, if you go into your banking account and you enter your password, which of course you need to check your account status, that information is not encrypted. And so all of your passwords are stored in that public Wi-Fi. So I would suggest use it, but use it conservatively. Don't use it to log on to any websites that you have to log in your personal information. Don't check your credit card accounts. Don't check your emails. Just don't do it.
Not the time to do your banking.
Not the time or the place, by no means.
And something else we've heard a lot about are the phone call that you get sometimes when you're in your hotel room. Maybe the front desk is calling to check up on your credit card on file or something like that. Are you hearing about this as well?
I have heard of it in the past. Consumers should beware. If they claim to be calling from the front desk, just say to them, "I will come down momentarily," or "I'll come down when I get up in the morning." Don't rush to give them the information that they're seeking, because what they do is they have previous guests, or they know the numbers, they randomly call those numbers, or they call the hotel and ask for that room number, and they pretend to be calling from the front desk, soliciting information, claiming that your credit card, there's a problem with your credit card account, or they may have copied the number wrong, and what they're doing is they're stealing your credit card number. So consumer beware. I mean, we just have to be so cautious nowadays.
Yep. You know, and here's something that I always wonder about when I travel is whether or not to travel with cash or use your card, you know, in a strange location that you're just not, you know, aware of where you are. You're not familiar with the area. So what do? Is it smart to travel with cash? Is it smart to use your credit, your debit? What do you do?
Well, if you travel with only cash, just remember that if your wallet is stolen or you
You're done.
lose it, you're done. That's it. There's no remedy available to you until you find someone to come to your rescue. If you use a major credit card, you do have some resources. I mean, you do have some recourses available, I should say, where if it's lost or stolen or misplaced, you can call your credit card company and they will issue you a different card. You may be without a card temporarily, so I would suggest a little bit of cash, a major credit card, major, not a debit card, never a debit card. And let the credit card company know in advance where you're traveling to, the dates that you'll be at that location, and also let them know a maximum amount of money that you think you'll be charging on that account.
Oh, good idea.
So if you know that you're not going to go on a spending splurge when you're on vacation, you're not going to buy anything over $500, then let them know not to authorize anything beyond that amount unless you call in advance if you decide to change your mind. So that gives you extra protection as well.
And how do you know if when you are booking some of these fantastic vacations that just look so great and tropical and the best view and it's within, you know, a reasonable amount of money, you know, how do you know if you're booking something that's real and is actually going to be there when you get there?
Do your research.
How do you do that? What do you do to make sure that what you're doing is
Number one,
is
don't
right?
give into pressure. Don't rush into anything. So if something is enticing and it seems to be a good deal, you know, that old cliche, if it's too good to be true, then it is. It happens quite often, and it happens to the best of us. So consumers, just do your research. Go online. If it's a particular hotel that's offering a really good perks, Google the name of the hotel, followed by the word complaint or reviews, and read the reviews. If it's a travel agency online, a website, check the reputation, check with the Better Business Bureau, check with the Attorney General's office. Again, type in the name of the agency followed by the word complaints. You'd be surprised how much information is available for consumers before they fall victim of a scam. It's just that they don't do their research until afterwards.
We all
And
get so excited.
never give in to pressure. I mean, they're clever. They're there to make you an offer, and they say it's only good for today. It may not be available tomorrow, and consumers are quick to act upon that, and then they realize, oops, I made a mistake. It's too late. Now you can't get your money back. And that happened to a girlfriend of mine just recently, where she got a phone call for, you know, a very, very, you know, lucrative trip, and she gave the credit card number, and they said, we're going to send you an email. You have 3 days to cancel. Well, of course, she never got the email. She called, and they claimed they took down the wrong email. And so now they claim that she wasn't eligible to cancel, which, of course, you know, that was, to me, a setup.
Vacations can be
So
so exciting, but
they can be,
you need to be certainly safe and smart while you're doing that.
Definitely.
Milagros Johnson, thank you so much
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
being here.
Thank you for having me.
So much to be looking out for. I
Yes.
appreciate you being here. And next, we have representatives from 2 local visitors bureau. We'll tell you how they're attracting people from out of the state into our region and what you can do inexpensively if you want to stay close to home. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about taking that vacation this summer without depleting your savings account. We heard from travel and financial experts as well as the latest scams that could cost you unexpected money if you're not careful. Now let's talk about what's attracting people to our region this summer. Joining us now we have Mary Kay Wydra with the Greater Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here, Laura. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about what's going on in the area. First, what are people doing in our area right now?
Well, it's summertime, and the weather looks to be cooperating. Certainly this weekend, we have a lot going on. We have some great attractions. You know, Six Flags is always a favorite, and it brings a lot of people into the region. And we love our partners at Six Flags because every year they tend to add to the mix. And this year they introduced the Wicked Cyclone. So for folks who have been there, there's a reason to come back, and that's an exciting one. If the weather doesn't cooperate and you need to be indoors, we have a great basketball Hall of Fame, and they do a promotion each summer called the 60 Days of Summer, where they'll bring back a Hall of Famer, some type of clinic. There's another reason to come into the hall. And then our friends up at the museums in Springfield have a great exhibit going on about Curious George, and you know, that's you can spend a day up at the museums because there's 4 of them all in a compact area and everything.
Have you found that staycations are more popular nowadays?
Well, you know, the work that we do, we certainly hope that's not the case, because we want to see folks staying in our hotels. And the work of the Convention and Visitors Bureau as a destination marketing organization, we spend our money in our feeder markets. So we're promoting in the Connecticut area and the Boston area to get people to come here. But certainly if folks are looking to travel on a budget, exploring the treasures right in their own backyard is a great way to do that. And in fact, I just did it recently. I traveled over to the Berkshires and visited Jacob's Pillow. I had never been there. It was phenomenal. Can't say enough about it. Beautiful grounds, great performances, and just a beautiful setting. So, you know, there's always a treasure you might not have discovered, and people can certainly do that.
Yeah, Western Mass has a lot to offer.
We do. We really do. You know, our research shows that people come into our region for several reasons. One, because of the types of attractions we have, and there's something for everyone. Family fun, couples, you know, and they can name our attractions with brands like Yankee Candle and Six Flags and the Hall of Fame, but they also come here to recreate. You know, we have a lot of green space, and there's a lot of fun, adventurous things to do. Delighted that recently the Boston 2024 group looked at the paddle sports on the Deerfield River. I mean, if it's good enough for Olympic quality athletes, imagine what a consumer, you know, kind of experience they can have up in the Charlemont, Deerfield area and everything.
Now, speaking of the Olympics, obviously we have a lot of big developments happening. We have the casino coming. I know that there's talk about the Olympics possibly impacting Western Mass. We also have this highway construction as well, which is happening. So I want to talk about how you're planning to sort of navigate around. How are we getting people to come to this area? What are you expecting?
Well, we actually have great partners in TV22, and on our website, Valley Visitor, we're connecting to the cone zone alerts that you guys are publishing on your site, so that we've got a consistent message about telling people about timing for when the viaduct project's going to happen. I mean, the reality is we have some aging infrastructure, not just here in the Springfield area, but throughout the nation, really, if you listen to the national news. So we need our highway fixed. It's a major artery getting, you know, north-south and so forth. What we intend to do is work with the local officials, certainly in the Springfield area, because that's where the exits and the rerouted traffic is going to, you know, be impacted. We're going to work with the folks at the city to make sure that we have the preferred routes to get people to the attraction. So bright nights, for instance, in November, because the bulk of the construction is supposed to start after the fall foliage season. Bright nights kicks off. We want to make sure that we're telling our consumers who are coming in for that particular attraction that they get off at a certain point and travel certain roads. So it's a coordinated effort, and it's all about communication, and really the most efficient way to do that for us is through our website.
Sounds like you are prepared for
We
that
are.
project.
We've been, you know, it's been talked about for a long time, and as much as, you know, as locals that we're probably not all really relishing it happening, and we have to allow for extra travel time. You know, one of the benefits of visiting Western Mass is, from a visitor standpoint, is we don't have traffic. We might have a little. It's nowhere near what they could experience if they went into major metropolitan areas like Washington, D.C. or New York. So
we are blessed.
We're truly blessed.
That move.
Absolutely.
So how about the casino? Are you seeing this as another attraction, or are you seeing this as an opportunity for other areas to sort of boom when this comes in? How are you expecting this casino to impact the tourism?
We're seeing it as both, quite frankly. We are seeing it as a brand new attraction because we know it is, you know, again, research shows that people do visit casinos. But this, in our opinion, this is so much more than a casino. I mean, it's entertainment, and MGM's brand really is about entertainment. So the fact that there will be retail, dining, bowling alleys, movie theaters, we're really excited for it to come into the area. We're also working very closely with them. You know, we have a marketing partnership agreement to work with them so that we are moving people around. You know, our hope is that, and we feel quite confident, what it will do is bring people into the region to visit the casino. They will learn about what else there is in the area and visit more. So they'll extend stays and actually spend more money when they come into our region.
And you mentioned hotels earlier. I know that part of MGM's plan is to make their hotel a little smaller than they initially proposed because they want people to stay at some of the other hotels. We've seen this one hotel right off the highway there that's already gone up.
Yep.
Are you sort of seeing more hotels coming, and this is sort of an opportunity?
Well, we know there was a new hotel that opened in Northampton last year. We've welcomed several since the casino has been kind of in the works. I think you'll see more as it opens and it really ramps up. But I applaud MGM. I applaud our local officials in the Commonwealth who really restricted how big these destination casinos could be and really limited them in terms of building meeting space and performance venues so that they will in fact impact the existing ones we have.
It is so nice to see this area as a place that people are looking to come and build and develop. It really is nice to see that. Mary Kay Wydra, thank you so much for coming and joining us from the Greater Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Thanks for having me,
Nice
Laura.
to hear about all of this. I appreciate it. And we'll take this conversation to the Berkshires after this. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Watching 22 News in Focus. Today we've been talking about traveling on a budget. We've covered everything from when you book your trip to travel scams that could cost you a lot of money unexpectedly. We are continuing our conversation now with what's available locally. Joining us now is Lindsay Schmid with the Berkshire Visitors Bureau. Thanks a lot for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, I always think of the Berkshires as such a beautiful place in the wintertime with the skiing and the cabins where you can go. It's just beautiful. But I know that summer is actually your biggest time of year.
It is our largest month, thanks largely in part to Tanglewood, which kicked off earlier already with some popular artist series. If you happen to see Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga there just on Tuesday night, they had a packed house. James Taylor will be there this on the 4th of July for his usual concert. So that is one of our major draws to the area. That keeps the summer quite robust, followed then by the Clark Museum, which just underwent a renovation last summer, increased their square footage substantially, amazing architecture. It's certainly worth the visit.
And of course, you got a plug in the last segment for Jacob's Pillow.
Yes, thank you very much.
That wasn't planned.
Yes, and along those lines with Jacob's Pillow, as Mary Kay mentioned, it is a fantastic place to go. You can go and go into their main theaters and see dance performances, or if you're looking for something that's again on a budget, they do have free dance performances Thursday and through Sunday evenings. You can bring a picnic. You sit outside. The kids can run around on the rocks. It's 30 minutes. It's a great way to take in some culture while having this amazing backdrop of the Berkshire Hills with the sun setting. It's a good
beautiful.
photo op, but don't post it on Facebook
Not while you're away.
Right.
No. Wait till you get back.
Right.
For that. Now, what about the restaurants? I know that you have a program to sort of encourage people to taste the different...
Yeah, so we started a program about a year ago that focused on our food culture. It's been sort of part of who we are since the Berkshires has sort of put itself on the map. We are the originators of the CSA. It started at Indian Line Farm in the Berkshires. So that tradition continues to carry through from the farms that you see on the lands as you're driving through the county to the ingredients that are used in the local restaurants to just the massive amount of farmers markets that are available this time of year. I mean, again, great way to get out and experience local food at any given day. You could visit our website, berkshires.org, and see there's a list of all the farmers markets, and it's a nice way to taste the local food products and then also bring them home with you.
I'm glad you mentioned the website because it's very impressive, actually. You have a lot listed on there, including just health and wellness. You know, for people who want to just go and experience the Berkshires, maybe they're not going to see a concert or a show, but they're just wanting to go and experience it. How can you sort of do like a low-key sort of experience the area? What would you recommend?
Well, what we're finding more and more is people have known us that, cultural attractions have sort of what put us on the map and sort of drew the folks from New York City and Boston to us originally, but it is the setting itself that sort of sets it apart from so many other places, that access to green space. And we're actually seeing that sort of outdoor recreation product being more developed. We just had a new aerial park open called Ramble Wild. It's the largest in the Northeast, Berkshire East, which is a ski area, but they just put in the largest mountain coaster, I think, in North America, and they're in the process of putting mountain biking trails in, and Bosque just added more mountain biking trails. So all of those things are, great ways to get outside, very low cost. All you have to do is bring your bike with you, put it on the car. And then if you're not into sort of the more hardcore outdoor activities, there are great options in terms of just easy hikes. And what I've discovered is a lot of the cultural attractions have really realized that, yes, it's great to come inside, see the beautiful museums, go and see theater, but because it is in this setting, how do you interact with that museum in an outdoor space? So the Clark, which I mentioned earlier, has great trails. Norman Rockwell Museum has great trails. People go there for bird watching. The trustees of the reservation has a bunch of properties in the Berkshires, and so they have great trails and great programming. I think they're doing something called Gin and Tonics on the Housatonic this summer. They just did Mutts and Mimosas at Monument Mountain. It's a hike. So there's just, I think people are getting more and more creative in terms of how we interact with our outdoor space.
Sounds like fun, and also encouraging people to come into the area. I mean, there must be some kind of a campaign to let people know what's going on as well.
Yes, I mean, as Mary Kay mentioned, our main feeder markets are New York City and Boston, so we try to have a year-round campaign out to those markets saying, come, because again, we do want to have them stay at our lodging venues.
Now, how important is tourism to the local economy? There are some places that you go that it's not big, but it sounds to me like this is a big part of what you do. It is.
It's the second largest economic driver to the area, after healthcare. So it's something Visitors Bureau, of course, focuses on daily, but it's also part of the conversation in terms of economic development that we have on an ongoing basis with the community itself, just to realize as locals, that how important this is on so many levels to our economy.
How do you continue to grow this every year so that it continues to be new and different? She was saying just to get people coming back and have it be new for them.
Yeah, I think right now our focus is to sort of how do we focus in on that millennial customer, and because our clientele tends to be an older generation than that, but how do we start the conversation with them about the Berkshires, and it is a place maybe they start to make traditions, because so many of our current customers have been coming for years and years because there has been that tradition. They've come with family, they've stayed in the same inn, but how do we get that millennial to start thinking about the Berkshires as a great place to escape? And I think the food conversation, the food and the farm, and goes a long way, and I do think that outdoor recreation is also helpful in that conversation, because it's not a ticketed something they have to do. It's not something they have to do on weekends. It's not something you have to do in the summertime. It allows you to come to the Berkshires experience at any time of year, because the summertime, because it is so busy, it's hard sometimes to come on the weekends when there's no lodging venues available, or you're having to stay for multiple evenings versus just coming for one evening or two midweek.
And are people already booking their fall trips? Because I know that fall is very beautiful with the leaves and foliage.
Yeah, fall foliage. I would say, in talking with a lot of our lodging partners, that this year has been great. Everyone's booking probably about at least a month earlier than they did last year.
Oh, wow.
And so their bookings are looking quite good for summer and fall.
Well, I'm glad we brought that up, because if people want to do that, they need to go ahead and do it now. Lindsay Schmid from Berkshire Visitors Bureau, thank you so much for being here. Sounds like fun.
My pleasure.
Have a lot
Come
going
visit.
on. I will. And we'll have the last word for you after the break. Stay with us. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Watching 22 News in Focus. It is July, and that means many of you will likely be taking some time off work soon. At least I hope you are. Today, 22 News in Focus was working for you with scams to be aware of and tips on how to do what you want to do without overspending. I hope you heard something today that you can use this summer, something interesting that you want to go visit in our area as well. That is our program for today. We want to thank our guests for joining us. Thanks to you at home for watching. If you've missed any of it, you can watch it in full on our website at wwlp.com. From all of us here at 22 News, we wish you a wonderful Sunday. We'll see you next week. Take care.